Let's talk libido, sexual pleasure, and mindful movement. Hi, my name is Joy Paleo, and I work for Balanced Body in Sacramento, California. I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 25 years and in the mindful movement space for about 20 of those years. Today, we're going to talk about libido and sexual pleasure and the role of mindful movement in that. Now, let's just quickly talk about the libido and what that is. So I'm going to call libido sexual desire. And in times of stress, we know our sexual desire can diminish. We think it's often because of the emotional piece, but it also has to do with our physiology and our changes of hormone. So sexual desire has one part physiology, what's happening inside of us. It is one part emotional, and it is one part physical. Can we physically perform the movements? And do we feel good as we're moving? So this is where mindful movement plays a part. I have Christine here. We're going to start with simple breathing. You'll notice I have a ball between her legs. I'm going to ask her to do some belly breathing. So as she's breathing, you'll notice her belly rises and her belly softens. So what's the role of breathing and mindfulness in sexual desire? Well, for starters, all the research and literature is showing that the more comfortable we are in our own bodies, the less judgmental we are of ourselves physically, the more comfortable we are sexually, the more comfortable we are with sexual expression. And mindfulness as an exercise regime or routine, that is its hallmark. It's non-judgmental. It's very much focused on our internal feelings of who we are physically. The other reason why I like breathing to start is as Christine breathes, she's breathing all the way down deep to her pelvic basin. So we're getting her in tune with her pelvic floor. All of these exercises I'm going to show you are pelvic floor exercises because your pelvic floor is paramount to healthy sexual functioning. So now I'm going to ask her on the exhale, and you might have noticed she just did it. She's just going to gently squeeze that ball, and there's going to be a little sense of lifting through the pelvic floor, the pelvic basin. Do you feel that, Christine? Excellent. So the breathing is a really nice way of centering, of getting one in tune with their body, of finding the pelvic basin, starting to stimulate the pelvic floor. We'll take this into 5 basic moves that will enhance your sense of sexual pleasure and it will also enhance sexual function. The first is a bridge. So the bridge is a simple exercise. You see it everywhere in yoga class and Pilates class and the gym and PT. But our focus here with the bridge is going to be on watching the relationship of the pelvis with the spine and the legs. So we're articulating through the spine, creating a little more suppleness in the lower spine, as well as creating strength through the whole back line of the body, the hamstrings and the glutes. Every one of these exercises is going to work on the hamstrings and the glutes. Now I'm going to ask Christine to hold that up there. And as she's holding up, she can also gently squeeze the ball, finding the inner thigh activation as well as the hamstring activation. Or another way to really enhance the pelvic floor feeling is she can pulse and she can lift her pelvis up and down. Now, while she's doing this, she's really working on that hamstring strength and balance. And guys, I have to tell you, and I'm not trying to be funny here, this is really important. Start to roll through your spine and come on down. Nobody wants to get the dreaded hamstring strain just as they're trying to enjoy. So the more you can create balance in the hamstrings, the better off you are and the less likely you are to get that dreaded strain. Great. And rolling down through the spine, again, creating that suppleness of the lower spine. The second exercise, I'm going to ask Christine to turn toward you and the camera. And these are just, again, exercises you see all the time. They're called Clams. She's going to keep her feet together for this version of it, and we're going to work on rotation of the hip. So what muscles are we working on here? Well, we're working on the posterior part of the hip, again, the glutes, and some muscles deeper into the pelvic floor. A nice thing to do here is to keep that leg up and to hold it, create a really sort of nice isometric contraction in the back of the glutes, and then also to start pulsing. So again, all of these exercises, they're gonna cover a lot of territory. One is they're gonna work the glutes, many are gonna work the hamstrings, many the inner thighs, all will work the pelvic floor. And then you're gonna bring that down, and then we're gonna take you onto all fours. So progressively, we went from her back to her side and now onto all fours. Now remember with those clams though, you are gonna wanna do both sides. Here, we're gonna play with cat. And again, we're gonna look at the pelvis in relationship to the lower spine and creating some nice mobility. What's nice here though, is we can also get some freedom of movement. Sometimes when we get into sort of that thinking or that internal focus, we get so intense that we forget that part of what we're doing here is movement expression. And this exercise is a great place to start playing with that. So you'll notice her head and her thorax, right, and her rib cage, everybody's just moving fluidly with her spine. Now let's take it into a little bit of a tail wag. And let your tail go right and left, let the ribs go, let the pelvis go, the shoulders. So don't worry so much about being so controlled with this. And now let's take this into some circles, Christine. Yeah, beautiful. Part of sexual desire is feeling good with sexual expression. And that sexual expression is feeling good with the freedom of the movement of your body and trusting that your body can move, which is why this reminds me an awful lot of dancing, right? Dancing is one of the best ways of just freely expressing yourself. So feel free, by the way, to put all of this to music and timing it with music. So now we're gonna take this and we're gonna bring Christine to upright kneeling. And we're gonna give her the ball again to put between her inner thighs. So I think now you should be seeing this pattern. We're getting inner thighs active, hamstrings, glutes, lower abdominals, and then finding that freedom of movement of the spine, the rib cage, and the pelvis. All of these are muscles and components that are so important to sexual function. Now, she's gonna gently squeeze that ball and then sit back on her heels. Arms are gonna go out in front. As she comes up, I want her to get a little extra thrust of her pelvis coming forward. Keep that activation of the inner thighs as she lowers down with control. So here, the pelvic floor on the way up is coming together, and then on the way down, it's releasing. Good. So these are excellent exercises. They can be done anywhere, first thing in the morning, or just before you go to sleep, before your workout, or after your workout. Great. Good. And it's also an excellent transition to our final exercise, which is standing. So let's take it standing, Christine. So here, you might ask, well, why are we standing? What's the importance of standing? Well, again, if we're gonna work on the pelvic floor and the importance of the pelvic floor to healthy sexual functioning, standing is one of the best places in which we can do that. And any standing exercise, squats, lunges, all of which are going to be really healthy and helpful here. So we'll just start with an easy squat. Legs are hip width apart, arms out in front. You're gonna lower down and then stand up. But the focus for us for today is gonna be a little different. So remember how I had the ball between Christine's knees earlier? I'm not gonna put the ball there. I could if I wanted, but I still want that inner thigh activation. So as she stands up, I'm gonna ask her to really feel that connection to the inner thighs and the lift of the lower abdominals. So the up is as important as the down. What's important about the down is as she lowers down, I want you to imagine the sits bones or the pelvis basin is gonna widen. And then as it comes up, it's gonna narrow. So you're creating a flexible, pliable pelvic floor. Remember, it needs to hold things in that need to be held in, and it also needs to relax, release, to let things out. So standing work, squats and lunges are gonna work just fine. Great, you're gonna hold it there, Christine? But here's what I want really to get across to you. I want you to move your body. So it's like we said earlier, sexual pleasure has an awful lot to do with just feeling comfortable in your own space, in your own being, and being able to move. So dancing, moving, right? Just simple, easy, swaying, all really important, yeah? Let it go, bring your arms up if you want to bring your arms up, yeah? So all really important to enhancing our sense of ourselves, who we are in space, what we have to express, what we have to give. All of this will make us, in turn, better partners, which in turn will, of course, increase our libido. Now, I want to leave you with one other thought. Don't have enough time here to talk to you an awful lot about hormones and how exercise can influence hormones. But we talked about mindfulness and some mindful movements and specific movements. Things like cardiovascular work are really important for increasing circulation. Circulation to the lower body is of the most importance to really good sexual functioning. So cardiovascular work, whether it's walking, running, biking, swimming, all very important. And on top of that, strength training. So what we did here today was body weight-based training, but adding some strength training, some weight training can also be beneficial. For men, as they age, their testosterone levels tend to wane, and the studies are showing that strength training can be really helpful. So here you have it, a little mix of mindful movement, some suggestions for other things that you can do at home. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us at balancedbody.com.